Good evening, Demon Phil, Comics and More New Jersey here. Got another interview for y'all this evening, and we're gonna have some fun with this one. As always, if you can see and hear me in the audience over there, if you'll let me know in the comments that you can, and then let's go ahead and start getting this shared out if we can, and then we will start getting this set up. And as we speak, I'm going ahead and doing my shares as well. Hope everyone had a great day. Stay safe. Wash your hands. You know, all the normal stuff you're supposed to be doing. All right. All right. So, again, if you're in the audience, you can see and hear me. If you'll let me know that, I'd certainly appreciate that so we know everything's working well on that side because, you know, technology is technology every once in a while. So, just want to make sure everything's working correctly on that. Just because you speak in the audience doesn't mean I put you on an email list or anything, so you're safe on that. And again, if you're in the audience and you can see and hear me, if you'll start sharing this out, I'd appreciate that. We'll give it about another minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. And we have had a great time with the interviews thus far, and we're not slowing down at all tonight. Trust me. Tonight's going to be a little more high energy than is normal. I've had quite a few higher energy shows as well, but yeah, this is going to be fun. Been looking forward to this one. This one's actually been scheduled in for a little over a month, I believe. It's been a while. All right, let me go ahead and remove the banner, and we'll make this official. All right. Demon Phil, Comics and More New Jersey here. Got another interview for you this evening, and we're having a blast with this. Now, before we get started, let me go ahead and start by thanking my sponsors. We have got Sub-Zero Mission. Everyone knows this is huge with me. Sub-Zero Mission is one of them that actually saves lives in their area by going out every winter season to go ahead and give the homeless veterans the tools they need to go ahead and survive. If you don't know enough about this and you want to know more about it, please reach out to me and let me know. I'll give you all the information and tools you need to go ahead and help out with this. We have Totally Rad Comics, which has got Totally Rad Life of Violet #3, which will be coming out June the 16th. June 16th is when it comes out to Kickstarter. We have got 183 Degree Studios, which is Kara Nicole and Alfred Trujillo, which has got Confessions of a Cosplay Diva, which is on right now, which has got just under 3 days left on their campaign. So if you haven't jumped on that one, make sure you get over there and take a look. Third Empire. Third Empire has got Mojo Rising is going to be coming out to Kickstarter very soon. That should be hitting within the next week, if I'm not mistaken, on that one. There were some snags that were run into on there with Kickstarter and having to approve. Live and learn. So having to work on some things with that. Codex Entertainment has got Lily the Demoness #4, which will be coming out in July on Kickstarter, so be looking for that one. Comic Art Groupie, which is Wendy Steen Shaner, will have Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins #4, will be coming out June 24th on Fairy Day, so don't miss that one. And our final sponsor, of course, is the young lady that is right up here at the top over here, Pantsless Pizza. And if you don't know enough about Pantsless Pizza, just go ahead and stay tuned because there are more reveals coming up with that. All right. So that being said, we're ready to have some fun on here tonight. So I have got a couple of guests here tonight that signed on to be here. Like I said, it's been about a month ago that we signed up for this. We have been we have been discussing some things prior to, and I've actually gotten a couple of their books and in the process of getting more because it's that addictive. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon.
Hey, hey.
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's happening? Steph, were you supposed to pose too? I didn't get the memo on that one.
Well, we actually have a signature pose that we do whenever we take pictures.
Aha.
Which is that. But I've stopped predicting what Matt's going to do on these things.
You got to keep us all on our toes, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, absolutely. Well, thank you both very much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and start off with, for those that are on here right now and those that will be watching this later, that you don't know who you are, if you'll go ahead and take a second to go ahead and let us know who you are, what you do, and how to find you. Steph, if you'll go ahead and start off for me on that one.
I'm Steph Cannon, comic writer and creator, and one half of In Symmetry Creations with this guy right here, Matt. And we have 2 series out right now. We have a time travel steampunk series called Heirs of Isildur. Vanna's pointing right now. And we have a medieval fantasy series called Tales from Nocturnia. We are currently working on issue 3 of 3 for Tales from Nocturnia right now. Kickstarter coming soon for that. But I'll let Matt kind of explain what else we do other than write.
So like Steph said, we operate under the name In Symmetry Creations because we felt like it was going to be easier for everybody for us to just combine what we do under one umbrella name instead of having 12 social medias out there. One of the things that we always say about Heirs of Isildur is it's where steampunk, comics, and metal collide, because we are always dressed in steampunk for live shows. It's obviously comics, and we do have a metal side to what we do. We have a 12-track metal CD called The Crossroads Conundrum that goes with Heirs of Isildur, and we are working on the next album right now, which will have songs from both Heirs and Nocturnia on there. And one of the things we always do is whenever we do our Kickstarter videos, we always write a little clip that'll be a part of a new song that goes on there. And so doing the Kickstarter for Tales from Nocturnia 3 and also for the trade paperback version, the complete story, which is going to have more than just the 3 issues. It's going to have some other Tales from Nocturnia pieces that we've done not over the years, but I guess over the years, that are going to be in there as well to complete the full story. And we're going to have a new little clip that's going to be on there that's going to be a part of a song that'll be on the album as well.
Very cool. And we've got a few people in here. Let me go ahead and get to them real quick. We got Ed Williams. What's going on? And thank you for being in the show, Ed. And of course, we have got Russell Allen, Pantsless Pizza and Burgers in his house. Yes. And I'm sure that Matt and Steph are probably sitting over here going, Pantsless Pizza, huh? Well, yeah, you've got to be like everybody else and just got to sit back and wait. It's coming. It's going to happen.
Okay,
it's a project
sounds like a good time, maybe.
It's in the works. We're having some fun with it.
As long as it's shirtless comics. I mean, that's pretty much every day for me.
I think that might not go so well tonight.
What are you talking about?
Now we're not on we're on Facebook and YouTube, so we got to be careful on that. So yeah, we won't be going that far.
What are you trying to say over here, man?
Hey, Brian Silverback is in the house.
What's up, Brian?
And that is very cool that Brian is here, because actually was going to be speaking about him a little while anyway. So nothing bad, of course, never. No.
Are you going to say something like this about Brian Silverback? This is that you're going to say about Brian Silverback?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's actually not Brian Silverback's on the cover. Just to let you guys know, he doesn't go around in a tattered hood, but I mean, he might. You never know.
Brian Silverback is my favorite metalhead out there. Hey, I'll tell you, Brian Silverback is my boy, but I'm going to tell you something pretty funny that he told me one day. Brian went to hear some of the music we had out there, and he got about 15, 20 seconds in and heard the vocals, and literally the message back from him was, "No, sir, this is not for me." Because I mean, Brian was a hip hop artist, I guess, back in his high school, just out of high school days. So I can understand why he's like, dude, that's just not my jam. So, I mean, maybe I need to hear some of his New Kids on the Block that he was doing back then, and we can see what kind of stuff he was producing.
I don't know. Brian had a karaoke thing that he was doing a little while back. And I caught the 5 minutes of it or so that was on there. And yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty interesting. I will put it that way. He was putting his all into it. Now I've got a few questions on here, and of course, anybody in the audience, if you've got questions, you want to set up on there, go ahead and get that ready to go as well.
Chuck Pino is in here. Then he Phil, did you read all 1,000 pages of the Heirs book? LOL. Oh, Chucky.
Chuck, I haven't gotten to the Heirs book as of yet. I'm still on Tales of Nocturnia. I'm about to get to the Heirs book, so I'll go ahead and pace myself for that 1,000 pages on there.
Man, it's only
not 1,000 pages. That's ridiculous. It's 1,003.
right here. It's only 268 pages. So
Wow.
covered 11 issues and a whole bunch of other stuff. And so, yeah.
All right. So the first question, of course, I want to ask is, how did you and Steph meet up and start this collaboration?
So it was a kind of interesting story. Steph and I were both, we had already been both working towards getting ourselves into the comic community. And we had a common individual that we both were friends with that was being harassed online. And we felt like it was unjustly. And early on, I had put a post up showing support for this individual. And like 3 weeks later, this post just had a mind of its own. And, Steph had put a comment in there. It was like 100 comments down. And for whatever reason, I clicked on her post and she had some art up there on her page. I really liked the way it was done. I was just like, hey, your thing looks really cool. And she went and I guess looked at some of the stuff that I had and kind of felt the same way. And we just started talking at that point. And next thing you know, we're here sitting with Demon Phil.
That was back in like January 2018. So it was a mutual friend in the industry that we didn't know each other. We just happened to have this mutual friend, like a lot of us do. Indie comics is a small pool, but it was still kind of just the right post at the right time. And we both posted kind of like similar positive comments, and I think that's kind of what we were like, this is somebody that's like-minded like me.
And that's very cool because I have seen a lot of pictures and some short videos of you two together at the con scenes, and there's a lot of energy coming off of y'all at your booth in your area, which is nice because there are too many that actually set up a booth or whatever, and they're just like, oh yeah, show up. Are you going to buy? Okay, great. Now we're going to be friends. Now I'm going to have some energy. You actually draw people from the very beginning all the way to the back of wherever you are and get them to you. That's what I like seeing about that, is how much energy and positive energy is used on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I've got a background. I do a lot of PA announcing. And one of the things that I've done for quite a few years is I do soccer PA announcing. And if you're in a soccer stadium, you either get one of two things. You're in like English soccer or like the United States national team where you've got people singing and going crazy and having a party the whole time, or you've got a completely dead stadium where nobody's doing anything. And my goal on the mic was always, I'm going to be the person having the most fun and being the biggest lunatic in the stadium, so that the people in the stadium can be like, man, I can cheer and I can have fun and I can let loose, but I'm not going to be as much of a knucklehead as that guy up there in the booth. So it kind of gave them a security blanket to be able to let loose and have some fun. So it's just always been a part of my personality. People go to a show, they want to have fun. They want to they want to feel like they have the ability to come and interact with you. So that's kind of the personality we have at the booth as well.
So whenever Chuck reviewed your 1,000-page book and everything and approved it and all, did you yell out goal for 15 minutes straight like you normally should?
Did Chuck ever review our 268-page book stuff? Did that happen?
What page is he on?
I think at last comment, Chuck was on page 7, I think.
I have to say though, we have forced Chuck to eat crackers, mini crackers without water on his show. So, it's just turnabout's fair play, I guess. I don't know. But I have been to a game that Matt has PA'd and have heard him scream goal, and it's exactly how you think it would go.
There are some clips I could find. There's actually a few clips because I've done stuff all the way up to the professional level. I did a professional 1 year for USL. But there's a lot of clips online from me working for USL 2 teams. And you can hear the actual radio broadcaster knows how I am in the stadium. And he would say something and he would shut his mouth because he knew that I'd be holding out goal for or shot and score. And he'd wait for 15 seconds to say something else because he didn't want us to be fighting over each other. And there's been some clips of that online that were pretty great.
Very cool. Now, let me ask you this. What comics have you used for inspiration growing up, into getting into what you're getting into? Because I know the whole steampunk thing is something that's newer, of course. But what were you using for inspiration, both of you, as growing up, for the comics and leading into this?
I know it's cliche, but Watchmen was the very first graphic novel that I ever read and fell in love with. I mean, I know everybody kind of, I feel like a lot of people say that, but it's true for me. It was the first thing that I ever read as a teen. I got into comics as like a late teens. So it kind of was like the right time of my life to read that. But that was definitely, that was the first time I read a graphic novel and thought, I want to do something like this. I always knew I wanted to be a writer, but that sort of changed my perspective into actually thinking, oh, I could actually write comics if I wanted to.
For me, it was, I come from the metal world. I come from being a musician, and I wanted to do something more than just write music. I always wanted to have stuff that was more multimedia, and it became a little more writing an ebook that turned into a comic. And for me, I'm not even going to give you any titles of the stuff that I've read, because what my daughter and I would do is we would always go to like the comic shows, and we go to like the 50 cent and dollar bins, and we would always just be like, let's find the most obscure, most random titles we could possibly find that somebody put their heart and soul into, that have completely just been lost in the shuffle, and see if we can find some gems in here. And I can tell you right now, I don't even remember the names of some of them, but it was always, we would find some great little gems here and there in those boxes and be like, man, these guys had a really good idea here. And I'm really surprised it didn't go anywhere. So
I completely agree on that. There are so many that it's sometimes it's the shiny, the pretty on the shelf type thing will get your attention, but then after a while, those end up in the dollar bins anyway. It's whenever you open them up and you find out, oh, wait a minute, there's actually a story inside as well. It's not just the shiny.
Yeah,
and you can really find some gems whenever you start looking through that. So it does. It makes a lot of sense in doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we're in indie comics, so it makes sense that I would be reading more indie comics. I'm reading my peers' stories now, but I read way more indie comics than I do the big two now, which is not how it was when I first started reading comics, but the stories are just a little bit more personal. You get some of the obscure things, and it's cool to say, that you've been introduced to titles that you would never even have known.
Exactly. And David Faught is in here. Thank you, David, for coming in here. Appreciate you being here, buddy. And let me see, we've got, we kind of talked about, we keep bringing up about the music and everything. One thing that I wanted to bring up as far as something that I noticed is whenever on your webpage, which actually I have, let me go ahead and show on here. All these links are actually attached, so you can go find them pretty quick. But let me go ahead and show this up here. So on the webpage, whenever you go to the main part of it, the home button or whatever it is, all the way at the left-hand side, it's got some of the videos and everything that are on there, and they're short videos. There's like 4 of them, music videos. My thing that I kind of noticed from there, and it's really cool though, is the first thing that I thought of whenever I started watching these is Disturbed, because Disturbed actually took some of their music videos and did the same thing, where they had the comic orientation to their music that was on there, which was very interesting to watch. So whenever you're actually watching your videos, I got that feeling from that. But on top of that, from actually reading some of the stories as well, you get to dig in deeper just from the music alone, which is very interesting.
Yeah, that's actually how it was designed. We if I had a nickel for every time I said it, Steph was probably like, holy crap, you're going to say it again. The storyline in Airs is like a vertical line, and the songs intersect at horizontal points. So there's even little spots in Heirs of Isildur where it'll say, if you want to know more about X character, like for instance, Shiver, go look at the Shiver music video. And so that way we could give them a little deeper origin story. We could kind of paint their origin in a little different flavor than what is in the book itself, because you can only go so far in the comic. I know the song that we're working on right now, I've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun working on the lyrics for it, because there's a scene, which we're not going to give away what that scene is, and in issue 3 of Tales from Nocturnia. And the scene is probably only going to take about a page in the comic, but it's one of those things that is very picturesque, and it's very dark, and it's very gloomy. And it just really felt like something that needed to be able to be expounded upon, about what would these people that are actually going through this specific thing, what would they actually be thinking at that time? And it's been really fun actually being able to draw that out and expound upon that. And we're actually really excited to be able to bring that out whenever it comes out. We'll be really happy to be able to get that full thing out there.
Now, we keep kind of bringing up about Tales from Nocturnia, so that's the first one that I want to go into, and then we'll go into Airs right afterwards.
Sure.
But Tales, now I'm a little bit of a fan on this one too, because I actually got this and I cannot wait for 3. So there is 1, here is 2, and he's about to show. Yep, he got a better collection over there than I do. Just to go ahead and give you my thing on here, because I don't think I've given an official review on my end of the books yet. I think I was waiting to get y'all here to go ahead and do this. So if you'll bear with me on this real quick, the main thing is on the first one. Of course, whenever you get it, I always check with the quality of the paper, the quality of the jacket, and everything like that. It's a little flimsy on 1. On 2, you went a little more hard stock, which I like because it gives a little more hardcore feel to it. And the pages included inside as well. So that's the only thing between those 2 right there. The panels, I love the panels because I can't stand blocky panels. If it's a 9 panel, page by page, just 9 panels on there and goes straight through, drives me insane. So I like the fact that it actually has flow to it to make me actually want to turn those pages each time. The lettering was spot on. Your dialogue was perfect, which is hard to do because of the timeline of what you're working with on this. So you're having to be cautious on that, because I know you've got the steampunk, a little more modern thing on there, but you've also got the medieval times that it's going through, and so you kind of had to keep that balance on there, and you did perfect on that. The story in general is very how do I put this? It's very inviting. It makes you want more. So whenever you go through number 1 and you get a ton of backstory and build up on there, you get into 2, and 2 does not disappoint at all. 2 is more of your in your face. We're going to really get your blood boiling on this one. And that's pretty much where I didn't even have the music playing while I was reading this, and the music's playing in my head afterwards while I'm reading it, which is odd because I'm going through, and you introduce a band in here.
Yeah.
In character
That's
form.
voice.
Yes, let me give you full screen on that one. Hang on, there we go. So they are introduced in here. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give one piece. I'd never give like spoilers away or anything. This is not a spoiler, but their special power, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, whenever they're introduced and they come out of here, the leader comes out, and he is confronted by the leader of the other group on there, which is the
you got the Nocturnians,
the executioner. Yes,
yeah, the Nocturnians.
Right. So the executioner's out here, and he's confronting him, and he says, what do you have to offer? And he brings out a lute, and they're kind of looking, they're like, what are you going to do with that? His eyes turn a certain color. He starts playing, and the guys all start going in like this massive blood rage of they've got to just tear somebody up and get into a fight. And that's their powers. While he's playing that, they become almost invincible in their own minds and everything, which is great because it really plays into it. And I'm telling you right now, as soon as you see that, you cannot help but have some form of music going in your head whenever he's doing that. So you absolutely nailed it on that.
Well, one of the things that's actually really fun about that, Inferi is a real band out of Nashville, Tennessee. One of my favorite bands, one of Steph's favorite bands. They're on the Artisan Era record label. And their inclusion in the issue actually started at a concert. I actually took Steph to go see Inferi in May of 2019. Yeah, May of 2019. I took her to go see them in concert. And we were sitting there hanging out with the vocalist Stevie and the bass player Andrew. And we were talking about Heirs of the Sealdor and the metal music and all that. And they've got a really good mind for merchandise and all that. Like we have a lot of, especially Stevie and I talked a lot about the way that they merchandise their band and the way we do some merchandise. And either Stevie or Andrew, one of them was like, oh man, it'd be really cool to get killed off in a comic. And that was like the first line. And
we could maybe do that.
It just kind of built up and built up and built up. And the next thing you know, we're like, we have this medieval comic, and over time it built up, and then they had another concert in October, and we started our Kickstarter October 29th. Their show was on the 28th because we wanted to make sure that we could get in there. And I actually sat down and met with every person in the band and let them know the storyline, made sure they knew how they were going to come into the issue, how they were going to leave the issue. Everybody thought it was great. One of the things that I will say, without giving a spoiler away, but I totally will give a spoiler away, Malcolm, who the main guy is, spoiler, the guy dies in the issue. Malcolm is known for having this giant beard. And we said, hey, you know what? We think the best thing for you is for you to die and get burned to a crisp by a dragon. And your beard is going to have like a Bugs Bunny-esque power to where your body is going to just disappear, just float into dust, and you're just going to see your beard there, and your beard is going to be the only thing that survives. And they thought that was the greatest thing. And it was just great. Like I said, though, if you like the Airs music, if you go listen to Inferi, you're going to be like, oh my gosh,
oh, they're
nuts.
They are so amazing live, and going to that concert. And it's funny too, because you meet them and they're seriously the nicest guys ever. They're so humble and personable and friendly and fun and just positive. And then they get up on stage and they just absolutely kill it. It's awesome. But yeah, it was pretty cool to say that we, just by hanging out with the band before the show, birthed this idea that's probably one of my favorite things that we've ever done is the inclusion of them in that issue.
And I will say this too, which this is not something we've really said much before, but the thing that left them open for this is on our Kickstarter for #1, we had a tier out there that somebody could buy a tier, and they could have been the one that brought their army in, and they could have filled that Inferi role, and nobody picked that tier. That's the only major tier that we've ever put out there that nobody took. And so we were like, okay, well, how are we going to fill this in? So when they brought that up to us at the show in May, we were like, hey, what if we pitch to Inferi that can be them? They can be the Inferians that come to help out. And the rest is insane history. And by the way, this cover was actually done by Thomas Tenney, who works for Marvel ForceWorks, and who just last night they had an episode of Creepshow on AMC that he was on as well. So this is actually a Thomas Tenney cover, and shout out to Chuck, because Chuck's the one that recommended we get Thomas to do this. But Thomas is also a great guy. Thomas is somebody that has become a good friend of ours. We did one show with Thomas. We tried to set up a couple others. We're hoping that once the world opens back up, that we'll be able to get back out there on the road with him. But yeah, it was great being able to get Thomas to do the Inferians, because that just gave it a little more oomph behind it. Because here's a guy from Marvel, here's a guy from Creepshow doing this cover for Inferi, and their fans ate it up. Their fans are really big collectors, really great people as well. So that it really was a fun experience overall.
Now we're going to put a small pin in issue 3, because I want to get back to that one, because we're going to be talking about crowdfunding. But I'd like to go ahead and go into Airs. Now, Chuck, I'm going to say this right now. Chuck actually put his link up in there. So if you're in here and you saw that link go across there, Chuck has Chuck's Raw reviews, which are excellent that he does on the books and everything. I'm going to give him a shout out on this one, because he's up to 51, I think is the number he's at right now. So he's got a milestone on that he's been doing. He got past his 50. But he does some really good reviews on there, and I'm almost positive I watched that one because I watched all of Chuck's Raw reviews before as well, just going ahead and kind of going through, because that's where I get a lot of my information. So if you have time, go look at that. But I will go ahead and turn the floor over to both of you to go ahead and say, what is Airs? Why should people go ahead and get involved in that?
So Heirs of Isildur is a steampunk time travel series, but we like to say that it's time travel in reverse. It's not about a guy getting into a time machine like Back to the Future to change an event to try and affect the future. It's about a watchmaker in a conservative little steampunk enclave that is all about making sure time works exactly as it should. That's what his life is about. That's what life in Shadow's Haven, the town he's in, is all about. You don't go out of line. Nothing operates outside of what the expected norm is. He's well known for being that guy. And he ends up accidentally opening up a time portal that starts bringing people from other eras to him. So this guy who's all about making sure time works exactly as it should ends up being the person who ultimately has a chance to break the time portal. And the entire story is basically about the way that he and these people interact. They don't have this God mode understanding of here's why this is happening and here's why the portals do this and blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like why people liked The Walking Dead when The Walking Dead was a good show. The Walking Dead back in the day, they said the reason why people liked The Walking Dead was it wasn't a zombie show. It was a show about people and how they interacted in the face of this fantastic event. That's the same thing at its essence that Heirs is. It's how are these people going to interact and how are they going to find a way to be able to move forward when this fantastic event has brought them into this one timeline.
And that sounds interesting because it has a lot of tangents that it can go off into because it's a butterfly effect. I mean, if you change one thing here, how much are you changing over here, and what are the repercussions on that? There's a lot of responsibility and accountability that can be involved in that before you even do it, because just thinking it can go ahead and throw you into that motion.
Well, and one of the things too about it that's been fun is that steampunk is it's funny because steampunk is really regimented in the way that a lot of people want to tell the story. It has to fit into this one timeline and you have to use this technology and that technology, but we see it completely the opposite. We bring people in from the past, we bring people in from the present, from the future. One of the characters comes in and has a cell phone, and our main guy thinks that he's got all the most knowledge because I could tell you about how this works, how that works, and then this girl comes in with a cell phone. And he's like, well, I have no idea what the heck this is. This is technology far beyond me. So we're able to bring in things from wherever we want. I mean, we talked about Tales from Nocturnia, and in Tales from Nocturnia on page 1, you see the king ride away on the horse. There's the king for Tales from Nocturnia.
Aha.
He actually rides away, and that's Tales spins off of Heirs because Tales from Nocturnia is about the kingdom that this king left. So he gets pulled through a portal and is pulled into the Heirs storyline. So you not only have people from the past and the future and the present, you've also got the king from Tales from Nocturnia.
Nice. So it actually has a lot of interaction with all the books that are involved in this, because Heirs has got 11 issues, I believe.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the one trade is 11 issues?
Yeah, all 11 issues are in there. The one thing that Steph will tell you is when I first started doing this, like I said, I came from the music world. I came from just being a writer, and it started off as an ebook. So the original versions of the first few issues were very text heavy, very art light, because it was more of an illustrated novel. So when we got to doing the trade of the 11 issues, she and I went back and took 2.5 months to reletter the entire series. So if you've got the original issue 1, you have a completely different format than you have in the trade issue 1. We actually had the artist at the time. We switched artists halfway through the series. Then the original artist actually passed away as we were doing the trade. And we had our artist at the time go back and redo and add a bunch of art to the earlier issues so that way we could get it to where everything was consistent. You weren't feeling like you were reading 11 issues going from an ebook to a comic. You were reading still a text-heavy story, but it was still 11 issues of the same thing.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense with that, because you don't want to have it where it's so droll going through 11 issues and just nonstop. You want to have it where it actually, again, the page-turning effect, where you actually want to get involved in it, and it needs to become to the point where you're like, did I just really go through 1,000 pages? I don't realize that I did.
It's only 268.
Yeah, we need to correct that before people buy it and go, wait a minute, I thought this was 1,000
Not
pages.
Not really 1,000 pages. We're just joking.
That's the Snyder cut. That's where y'all got to add it in.
Yeah.
Now, we said we were going to talk about issue 3 of Tales of Nocturnia, but I wanted to go ahead and bring that up because of the crowdfunding that's involved as well, because y'all know what you're doing on crowdfunding. I mean, y'all have done, been very successful on that and have some great ideas on that. And some of the things that you offer as far as stretch goals and the way that you present them and everything is just done very well. So I want to kind of go into that. Number one, asking, when are we looking at possibly getting 3 to be on crowdfunding?
So we originally had hoped the campaign was going to be starting imminently. At one point, we thought that today was going to be the day it was going to start. We're pretty confident it's going to start this month. We just want to get it a little bit farther along. It's going to be like I said, a two-pronged campaign. One just for issue 3, one for the probably going to be about 130-page complete story trade. The new penciler we have, Stephen Baker, is doing a bang-up job. He's doing an awesome job on understanding the story. I can tell you that he has probably spent more time wanting to understand the lore of what the story is than any person that we've ever dealt with, and that's great. There's been times that Steph has been like, "Hey Matt, I know you've got it," because we want to get so deep into the lore of it, but it's good because he wants to make sure that when he's drawing it, that that he doesn't draw something that is going to be incongruent with what we're looking for. One of the things Steph and I love to do, and this is actually something that we mandate, is that when we are getting ready to start doing an issue, we have to get on a video chat with the artist, and we want to read through the entire script, and she and I will read through the whole thing, so that
as characters in characters' voices,
as characters, and we'll read the entire script to the art team, so that way they can get a feel for what the issue is, and they can ask any questions. And absolutely the truth, the day after we read the script to Stephen, this is going to be a double issue. It's going to be 44 pages. And he was like, "Hey, I've got a question about this thing on page 43. Here's an artist that's drawing the first couple of pages."
Yeah.
And he was already comprehending it out to the point that he wanted to make sure that something that was on 43, that he wasn't drawing something on page 2 that was going to get in the way of something on 43. So it's been a really cool change of thought process. You know, he's challenged us a lot to make sure that the things we're saying are able to be done. And there are some crazy things that are going to happen in issue 3. And he's been wanting to make sure, hey, how are the mechanics of this going to work? How is is this logistically something that could actually happen? And we've actually changed a couple of small things in the script just based on that.
Now, with the crowdfunding, what kind of things that you usually offer? Because I know I've seen your last Kickstarter, I believe I had done that one. Some of the things that you offer on there, like stretch goals and everything, because you try to think outside of the box. You don't go with the normal, here's a bookmark, here's a sticker, have fun.
Yeah.
You try to actually do something different to where it's more memorable. What kind of things are you looking at with this?
Well, Steph, why don't you tell them about the thing that we did that actually won us an ICA award in 2019? That for
okay, so for our second campaign,
first one,
the second one,
we won it for the
first one.
We did it the first one. We did a version of it in the second one.
We had we actually have, because we do a lot of, we try to do not just comic shows, but we also try to do some steampunk shows too, which there are actually quite a few of them. In Florida has a huge steampunk scene. But one of the shows that we do is an outdoor market called Renegers, and one of our buddies that we have it's just by design now. We literally like rent out there's like 4 or 5 of us vendors that just rent out this spot every year, and we all hang out together. But our buddy is a leather worker, and his name's Harrison Hansen, and he actually made some custom leather gauntlets for the campaign that had the shield for Nocturnia on them. So, and when we say custom leather made, he's a leather maker. Like, he literally takes and he's like hammers it out. And I mean, it's ultimate craftsmanship. And we had those, we actually won the award for most innovative, most innovative Kickstarter crowdfunding reward, for those, because how many people can say that they have that? They're custom. So if you see people walking around, they got them from us, and we wear them at the shows too. And so we have, I don't think we're saying yet, but we have something pretty cool that we're gonna do for the third campaign. That is, I will say this because I know I can get away with this. It is a take on something normal, but we're making it cooler. Just like you would with steampunk. You take something and you make it better than what it was.
Yep. And we have gotten confirmation from the company that's going to do it for us that we are the first person in comics that they're actually going to do this for, that they've ever produced what they're going to produce for us in comics. It's a small thing. It's not anything that's going to be major. Like those gauntlets. Yeah, those gauntlets were like $120 a pair. Like that was a high dollar. And this is going to be a smaller thing that's going to be very accessible, but still very cool. And they've said that we're the first person. There's been bands that have done it, but we're the first person that's going to be in comics that's actually ever gotten them from this company.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so it's not a sword, because I was getting excited. I thought we were doing a sword on this one.
Well, now you went and spoiled it. It's a very tiny sword.
I had to try. No, the gauntlets are actually really cool because whenever you look at Ren fairs and things like that, and people having those things, and they are handmade, a lot of them do that. So to have that attached to a comic, because you actually see that in the books, that's what's amazing. It's not something that's just, we want to do this because we have a comic that's medieval. We actually show you, this is what this guy is wearing right here, and this is what you're going to get, because they actually are wearing the same things.
Yeah. And the fun thing is too, is that Harrison, the leather worker, is actually drawn into the comics. So it's pretty fun to see the guy that made the gauntlets for us actually as a character in the comics themselves. So, but I think Matt is trying to grab a gauntlet to show you.
I was trying to find where the gauntlets, man. I don't know where the heck it went. There's somewhere.
I got you. It's okay. Look at that.
Look here. She was prepared.
And easily. I did that.
She snagged it from you. That's what it was. She was just watching you go through there.
She literally just reached over here and grabbed it off the shelf.
She did. That is sweet.
All handmade, literally hammered. Every single little dot on there is all hand done. No machine work on there at all.
Very nice.
Yep.
That is definitely innovative in going along with the comics, with the medieval and the steampunk aspects on there. So you've got both of those on there. So that's really cool to go with that. So I can only imagine what you'd be coming up with for the next one. I'm waiting on that one.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. And one thing I will say again, that for this campaign, we tried to pull it back in just a little bit, just because of the times that we're in, as far as the fact that the world is shut down for the past 3 months. And the fact that this is already going to be a big enough campaign with having a double issue and the trade paperback in there. So, I mean, we do have, as always, we have a couple of cool variant covers. We actually had Walter Osley do a couple of cool variant covers. Not going to say what they are, but they're something I've wanted to do for a long time. And when I brought the idea up to Steph in January, and I can tell you that I don't think either one of us envisioned them actually coming out as cool as they did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They came out super, super cool.
They're awesome. So,
yeah, they're homage covers. Haven't seen these been done before like this. So definitely, even if it's just for me, so I can have them to put on my wall, I'm going to be super.
Yeah, it's really. Covers. I mean, you got to do something that you as a creator are going to love yourself and would want to pick up off the shelf. Otherwise, what's the fun in that? So, and we like being able to say. I mean, we've kind of said it a lot on this show that we're the only ones to do it. Not that no one else has ever done anything like this, but we have never seen a comic homage like this before. So,
very cool. Now I know that the Brian Silverbacks that you have, the two connecting covers on there, those are sweet looking on that.
Love those covers, and we did a foil version of it too. And I have to say, those covers are some of the best-selling covers that we've ever had. Brian, if you're still on the chat, literally, I mean, we have had people that have walked past and seen that foil cover and stopped and been like, "Whoa!" and come over, just their eye being caught by that foil cover.
Yeah, so he actually did.
We're always doing foil covers now.
Yeah, Silverbacks did a variant cover for issue 11 of Air's Force as well. He did was it Incredible Hulk 182? Where he did one of the characters from Heirs of Isildur in the Incredible Hulk running through the wall pose for Heirs 11. So that's another one of those collectible variants that we have out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things that you have going with this. What are some of your better practices that you have with the crowdfunding that makes them successful for you?
We always try to find a way to make people feel like we really actually care about the products that we have. We don't want to just see people as a number. I mean, obviously there are people out there that make far more money than we do on crowdfunding campaigns. We've raised over 5,000 on the 3 that we've done. We obviously want to see ourselves raise more. Yeah, each 5,000 each. But no matter how many people are on those campaigns, we want them to feel like they're getting value for what they have. We don't want them to feel like, hey, you're spending $25 and you're going to get a 20-page issue. To me, that feels like a rip. We want them to know, hey, there's going to be other little goodies in there. We've done hologram trading cards. We do our own trading card sets, but we also do some limited edition. Like there's a limited edition, one of the Brian Silverbacks, the covers that you like. We did some foil hologram cards of those as well. We only printed like 70 of them up. And we always try to do little things like that so people know that when they are in the Kickstarter, they're going to get more than just those 20 pages. When people buy to be in the issue, we did an issue of Heirs 7. We had 33 people drawn in there, but it was just cameos. I mean, we had people from all over the place in that issue. In Nocturnia 2, people paid to be in the issue, and we said, hey, we have 11 people in here. Everybody's getting a line. Every person is going to have a line. We always will put a yearbook page in the back of the issue so that you actually get to see, hey, here's this character like Richard Rivera from Stabity Bunny. He's actually in there. His character is like Josvard of the Helpless is played by Richard Rivera. We want to make sure that people know that they are appreciated for their efforts. Chuck stepped up last time. Thomas did. Harrison did. Travis Gibb. And they offered us a bunch of milestone goal things. And we made sure to give them a special thanks, a special shout out in there because, it's not just about us succeeding. It's about us helping other people to succeed as well. And if we can help them to raise in their business, then we all win.
And we want people to know too that we appreciate every single person, whether it is a friend or family member, or if it's somebody completely new to the series, or a returning fan. We remember those names. When we get a backer, we'll get all excited and we'll see the name and we'll be like, oh, this person backed the last campaign. We know right away. We remember their names. I fly in while we do the fulfillment and we sign every issue, both of us, and write a handwritten note to whoever it is, so that they're just, it's just a little personal thing that lets somebody know. And if it's somebody that we know or have interacted with, then we personalize it to them. So we start, morning till, midnight doing that. But we try to make it personable so that everybody knows that because we really do. We appreciate everybody's support so much, and we want that to be known.
And that's very cool because, and it's funny you mentioned that because whenever I purchased these, Matt signed them. You weren't available to sign at the time, so now I need to get your signature on them as well. So whenever I do catch both of y'all together, I'm definitely going to need your signature on them as well because I have to have
absolutely bring them, and I will sign them. I'll be happy to sign them.
So Phil, I will say this too. I will delay the stuff that you want to get from us, the Silverbacks covers. I'll delay sending that out by a week because Steph is flying in next week and she's going to be here.
I'll be there Monday. So
yeah, she'll be here Monday. So we'll make sure that she signs those things and we'll ship them out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And that's great because you're bringing that up. And that seems like that's something that everybody should think about with the crowdfunding projects and all, is thinking about the appreciation of the fans. And a lot of times they think about how much money it's going to cost, what they can get out there, how much money they can spend that they can actually, draw them in that way. Even with the gauntlets that you did, they were a little more expensive, but they are one of a kind. No one else that has those, anybody who got those from you, no one has the same one. They are all one of each, one of a kind.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Even the one that Steph stole from you through your thing there, that was hers. That's not yours.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we even did for Nocturnia. One of the very first things that we thought of doing is challenge coins, but it's the actual what the currency of Nocturnia would look like. So it has the king on one end, and they're like minted, actual minted coins. We put them in people's hands. They're like, oh, it's like Frodo with the ring. It's like they're like, whoa, and it's like but it's a quality product. So we want to make sure that people know that their money is going towards investment in quality products. We're not just ordering some cheap little thing that's going to break on their shelf after a week or something,
Well, we also know that people that are doing these kind of things, if they're buying a foil cover, like you said, the difference in quality between issue 1 and 2 is different printers as far as that was.
Yep.
People are buying these things for the collectability of them. So people aren't collecting things that are throwaway. They want something that's going to last. And so we try to keep that in mind as well.
Now, let me ask you this. What's been the biggest obstacle that you've had in the industry in doing all of this, and how did you overcome it?
Well, right now I'll say the obvious that we haven't been able to do a show in 3 months.
Yeah.
We've had 11 shows that 11 shows that have been canceled or postponed so far. Do have a signing coming up this weekend in town at a local comic book store. Steph and I have 2 next weekend with Richard Rivera at 2 different locations. So that's been tough, but that's one of those things that's tough for everybody. I mean, everybody's had that toughness. I would say, and Steph may have a different answer, but I would say the balance of being able to compensate the art team where they need to be compensated, because doing art is a tough job, and then also understanding what the realistic amount is that an independent comic can bring in. Finding that balance, finding that middle ground, because contrary to popular belief, Steph and I don't do this to go broke. If we want to find a way to be able to actually, build a business out of what we're doing, and if you're going to build a business, you have to actually find a way to be able to pay yourselves as well. And we are the last people that get paid from what we do. We sat down after a show we did a year and a half ago, and we said, at the rate we're going, we would have to sell 986 copies of a $5 comic to break even. And 986 copies of a $5 copy to break even on an independent circuit, that's insane. That doesn't mean you aren't going to sell that many, but you want to actually be able to make some kind of profit along the way, because then it doesn't make any sense business-wise to not be making money on what you're doing. So that's why that's always been the biggest balance, is understanding that when you're talking to an artist, hey, look, we want to pay you more. We wish we had more money to pay you. But realistically, it's not possible at this level. If we grow and our business builds, then we're gonna be able to benefit, and the art team is going to be able to benefit as well. But right now, everybody needs to be realistic. That's what I think from my side. That's what I think the biggest challenge has been.
Yeah, it's interesting, because anybody that is a creative will say, will kind of echo what we're saying about these struggles, because everybody kind of goes through it in different ways. But the things that are the most fun for us can also be the most challenging. Matt and I are working all day, every day. We work very, very hard. And I've done a lot of traveling. I was telling you, Phil, before we got on here, that the 3 months that we've been in quarantine is the longest I've gone without traveling since mid 2018. And dragging yourself back and forth across the sky every few weeks. I've, red eyes and literally flown there and flown back here to get my kids to their first day of school and flown back. And, we've just done some crazy, crazy things, and it's exhausting, and you're trying to be, stay as healthy and sane and fresh of the mind as you can be to try and create these things, all the while, with all the same obstacles and challenges that Matt brought along. There comes points where you're like, okay, this is, you don't ever want to think, this is more work than what we're getting back, because it's doesn't feel like work a lot of times, because we're working together all day, every day. We're doing what we love. So it doesn't feel like a job. So, but there's definitely, we are a legit business. We're an LLC. We've got to do, taxes and all the adulting, non-fun stuff just to keep this thing going. So, for every fun thing, there is a serious thing that we're trying to accomplish, so that we can, actually build the business the right way.
Now, speaking of fun things, what are some of the best con memories that y'all have?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Oh man. Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'll say one, and this is actually not even a show that we tabled at, but I'll say one, and then I'll let Matt maybe say one that we had when we were actually like guests at or something. But we went to ECCC, which is Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, one of the biggest conventions in the country. Obviously, we didn't do that this year. We were supposed to. I literally was in Florida getting ready to fly out to that when they canceled because of COVID stuff. But last year's 2019's ECCC, Matt and I went, And we just walk the floors and to meet with other industry professionals. And I have a couple of anthology stories that were with Alterna Comics. And at the time, we were on Alterna Comics Live, which was something that they were doing on a regular basis at the time. And so we kind of were fixtures in that scene. And we were walking on the floor in this huge convention packed with people. I mean, there was over 100,000 people that attended this thing. And we're walking through and somebody points at us and he's like, "Hey, Alterna Comics," comes running over.
Literally slams it on the ground and screams.
Like, yeah, throws his like backpack on the ground, pulls out the anthology that my story is in. He's like, "Can you sign this?" And it was like, it's like a bucket list moment where somebody recognized us, and we were in steampunk too, and asked me to sign my story that was in there. It was total, I don't know, it was amazing. It was at the time, it was like, that you just kind of go, okay, well, this is worth all the hard work to have somebody that actually recognize you. But seriously, every show that we have done together, we have a blast. That's what we live for, is doing those things. So I don't know, what's your favorite memory of the show?
Oh, let me see here. I don't know about it.
Chuck's talking about MegaCon. MegaCon in Orlando was where we got to hang out with Chucky all weekend, and it was a blast. And Chuck and Matt kind of like called each other in the morning to make sure they were wearing the same outfit. It was kind of weird.
We went to dinner and we realized that we were wearing the same pair of shorts, like the same brand and everything. We looked down and we're like, "What the freak?" I will say one of my coolest memories from a show was Ocala Comic Con 2018. I was doing double duty, being their PA announcer and selling the air stuff. And a little girl in a Pikachu suit came around the corner and was like, "Steampunk!" Like 10-year-old girl, and her voice dropped like 5 octaves, and absolutely lost her mind about the steampunk stuff that we had, and got all the issues and became a big fan of ours. And then when we drew everybody into issue number 7, her mom had said, "Yeah, we want to draw Piper into the issue." And so Piper was drawn in, and we were walking into LA Comic Con 2018. We're literally walking from the hotel into the building, and Piper's mom sends us a video of Piper opening up the issue and seeing herself in the issue, freaking out. And that was really, really cool. We actually have, in the same issue, we have Piper, who didn't really know she was going to be in there, and my dad, who's in his mid-80s. And we've got videos of this 10-year-old kid and this mid-80s guy that didn't know, both having these visceral reactions to be in the comic together. So that's actually one of the coolest things, is seeing people's reactions to "Holy crap, look at this, man, I got to be in this comic. This is awesome."
I have to add to that too, is that this girl, Matt took the time to actually talk to her and her family for quite a while, and her mom actually wrote on the Facebook page, on the Air's Facebook page, about how much that meant to her, because this girl was really into comics and was kind of, according to her mom, was kind of getting, picked on a little bit at school for her interests being different. And she said just Matt taking the time to talk to her and to, treat her like she was normal, and really made a huge impact on her. So it was kind of one of those things. It's like, I read what the mom said. I cried, because it was just, it's cool. That's why you do this kind of stuff, for those kinds of things. So to be able to have this girl drawn into a comic, and all of her friends were like, "You're in a comic book?" They were so excited. So it was just, it just doesn't get any better than that. And we got to meet her. I got to meet her and her family at Ocala Comic Con last year. And we got pictures with her and, pointing to her in the issue. And it's just that, feel good stuff doesn't get any better than that.
That is very cool, because that's something that you actually see, that it's above and beyond the financial part of it at that point. It's where something that you do actually matters, not only to somebody who financially would look at it a different way or something. To a child, they look at things completely different on that. So yeah, you helped her out at the time, but you didn't realize that ripple effect would actually make it where she was a little more accepted in school and whatnot. It was actually a really good deal with that. That's very interesting. That's cool.
That's why we do this. That right there. That's why we do it.
And one of the things too that Steph and I both have kids, and and find ourselves in positions of leadership over kids a lot. And that's why if you look at Heirs, it's, despite what Chuck says, it's not 1,003 pages, it's only 268 pages.
I said
But,
it was 1,003. Chuck said 1,000, I think.
but there's no curse words in the entire series.
Nope.
That doesn't mean that there's not mature themes. It doesn't mean that there's not stuff like that. And hey, more power to you. If you're someone that does that in your books, hey, that's fine. What we chose to do for Heirs was to insinuate if there was something that was going to be a little more, PG-13, R-rated, whatever it may be. We left that up for interpretation so that the 85-year-old and the 10-year-old could sit down and both read the book and both enjoy it. And they might get totally different things out of it, but that doesn't mean that there's not things that are implied. Now, Tales from Nocturnia, a little bit different. You saw issue 2, and there's there's just a little bit of gore in there, a little bit of blood and guts, but that's part of the fun of that issue. You can't really have a medieval.
There's still no curse words, really.
Yeah, no curse words, but you can't really have a medieval.
Sure.
You can't have a medieval battle without having a little bit of blood and guts. I mean, it's just part of the deal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they didn't have time for curse words. They were too busy tearing each other up in two.
Yeah, I mean, we had to make it realistic. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's 3 different factions going after the power on this, and yeah, it was interesting because, and again, not spoiling it, so I'm not giving it away, but it was just one of those things where whenever things happen, you're just kind of sitting there going, what else could possibly, no way. And you just keep going through the book. And it just, whenever you think you've got it under control and you think what's going to happen, no, it just gets better. That's why I cannot wait for 3.
Us too.
Now, yeah, no kidding. Now let me ask you, do you have any advice for aspiring artists or writers or creators out there?
I would say personally that one of the most important things is don't start to release things if you just have a concept. Understand what your concept is, understand what your climax is, and then fill in all the parts in between. Steph and I have been working on the sequel to Heirs of Isildur, The Crossroads Conundrum right now, and that sequel is called The Perilous Prospects. And one of the issues that we have with it is because there's so many different notes that we have. I mean, I've got volumes of notes. And it's which direction do we want to take it? We have this great concept and this great concept and this great concept and this one, but you can't really put them all in one story. We have to know where we're going to go and then kind of backfill it to understand how we're going to get from the concept to the climax. With Nocturnia, we've known where that story is going to go the entire time. We've known what the big, massive plot points are. How we're going to get there has been part of the fun of filling it in. Knowing where we're going to go means when we kind of built backwards to issue 1 and issue 2, there were some things that we could put in there that I'm sure, Phil, as a reader, you probably read issue 1 and you got to a certain point, you're like, hey, there's this character. You know what? I saw this character back throughout the issue and I didn't know that actually meant anything. Now I see why that character was there. There are a bunch of things that we have implanted in issues 1 and 2 that we are going to cash in issue 3 that when you get there to where these climax points are, you're going to go, how the heck did they sneak that by me? It's so obvious now, but there's no way that I could have possibly known that without having these climax points in front of me. So my biggest point of advice is understand where you want to go before you even start putting any kind of releases out there, because then that way you can assure your readership that they can trust that you're not wasting their time.
You have anything to add to that, Steph?
I would say for me, and it kind of goes along with what we were saying earlier about the obstacles, and that is, you have to know that it's not always going to be easy, and it's not always going to be a walk in the park. Not everybody is going to like what you do, and that's okay. I think that's one of the hardest things for any creative to learn to accept, because nobody wants a bad review. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to have somebody walk up to your booth and you say what it's about, and they go, oh, and they put it aside and they walk off to like the booth next to you and they go and buy something from that person. Kind of sucks, but that's okay, because that person does not have to like your stuff, because the next person that walks up might be that little 10-year-old girl that you had so much of an impact on her. She may remember that for the rest of her life. So you have to take the good with the bad and know that there's going to be some tough things. You're going to run into most people, unless you're blessed enough to be able to write and draw and letter and do all of it. You're going to have team members, and those team members are going to disagree with you on things, or aren't going to do things in the time that you wish that they would. You have to learn to be flexible, and you have to learn to be comfortable with the fact that there's going to be some not so great moments, and to not focus on those, because everybody knows when you're online, you could have 1,000 good comments, and you can have that one person that makes that one bad comment, and you're going to obsess about that. And that's just human nature, but you can't do that as a creative, because they're always going to be there, and you have to learn to just take the good with the bad, and really focus on the good and let that fuel you, because Matt and I, like he's saying, we want to be able to grow our business, and with that, you need to have money back from it. But we do this because we love doing it. We love doing it together. We love writing. We love creating. We love putting something out there that didn't exist before, and having people react to it in a certain way. So that makes up for all the not so great moments.
I would say one of the things too that, don't be afraid to know that you don't know everything. I mean, crap's sake, when I started doing, lettering and things like that, I didn't know squat. There's a lot more stuff that I have to learn and have to do better than I do right now. But, people have given us advice. On the flip side of it, if you're going to give advice and you're going to give constructive criticism, I would say make sure that you give it in a way that doesn't challenge the person's soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, Chuck, when he did the review of our book, actually, I think it was when we actually talked about Tales from Nocturnia 1. And he was like, hey, there's something in the lettering that I would do a little bit differently. Travis Gibbs said, hey, there's something in the lettering I'd do a little bit differently. And we made sure to let them both know, hey, look, not only did we take that advice in issues 2 and 3, but when we do the trade, we went back and re-lettered the entirety of issue 1 and so like the issue you have of issue 1 is the original lettering. The trade version of issue 1 is going to have a little bit different lettering in there, so that way it's consistent with 2 and 3. And we told them both, hey, you said this to us, we made sure to put this in play. Hey, Travis, you said this to us, we took that to heart, and we tried to improve on this thing. That doesn't mean you can do that with everything, but they brought that to us in a way that was humble and wanting us to improve and be better. And we could take that in that same way, be humble and take it as a comment to improve, not to try and just put us down to rise themselves up.
And that makes a lot of sense.
And it's better for it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're learning. I mean, at the point whenever you start, you say out loud that I'm done learning, that I've got this under control. That's whenever you start failing in whatever business you're in. It doesn't matter, in life in general.
No, we're always learning. Yeah.
So I mean, It's good that you have that and you're open to that, and to go ahead and say that, because that is huge. Because a lot of people who are trying to break out into the industry and everything are trying to throw out as much as they possibly can, as fast as they can, and they're not open to as much help, unfortunately, because they want to get their mark. They want to show that they can do it alone. And that's fine to a degree, but you still need help in other ways too. It doesn't mean that you have to have somebody co-write for you, or that they got to go ahead and go straight up to y'all saying, hey, you've written and done this before, I want to base it on your style and do the exact same thing. No, that's not what we're saying with this. We're just saying, reach out and say, hey, does this look okay? Would you purchase this? Does this look like something you would actually, that you would buy off the shelf if you were a fan of this? You got to take them out of their normal wheelhouse. Don't say, are you normally a creator, a writer, editor, or anything like that? You got to look at it as, are you a fan? And at that fan standpoint, that's where you got to say, would you not buy this? And that's the way you want to look at it overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jim O'Reilly coming here. Jim, thank you for being here. Jim is actually from Third Empire, which is working on Mojo Rising as we speak for the origin story. So that's going to be huge with that. But y'all have mentioned a few times about you want to build this up and get your, make this a legitimate business and everything, and really start building into it more. I went ahead and put the Facebook up here so that everybody can get on there and see everything that you've been working on and some of the things that you're working on in the future. And that's where I wanted to lead up to what is next for y'all.
Well, like I said, we definitely know that we've got the next album coming up. and that's going to be a fun one. So there's going to be a lot of different things that happen with the album there. The first album was all basically designed around Heirs of Isildur and how it could link to there with a little bit of link to Tales from Nocturnia. The next album is going to link a little bit more, half and half, some to Heirs, some to Nocturnia. We have the Heirs sequel. We do have some other stuff that we really can't talk about right now, but we definitely want to take the IPs that we have into as many different areas as we can. We are definitely not about we only want to have this IP exist in the comic world. You can know that that's obviously not the case, and we already have existing in the metal world as well. But we want to have ways to any opportunity that comes our way that is a worthwhile opportunity. If we can bring our IP into that world, comics, trading cards, music, anything past that point, we want to do that. We definitely have some other story ideas that we want to get out there. We definitely want to just feel like that we are continuing to create, like I said before we got on, Phil, our two top goals are always to create characters people can relate to and universes people want to escape into. And as long as we are continuing to do that, then I feel like we're going to be happy.
And it makes a lot of sense with that because you have a lot going and you have a lot of good momentum behind you right now. And you don't look like you're planning on shifting that down at any point. You look like you're trying to actually move up a little bit and give it a little more of a push.
Absolutely the truth. We're not getting any younger. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. Nobody's guaranteed. Well, nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. If you don't do it now, when are you going to do it?
Yeah. And I mean, it's proof that, the last 3 months have been difficult for everybody. There's not one person that this hasn't affected in some way, shape, or form. It was tough. We had a lot of shows that we were planning on, a lot of shows that got canceled or postponed, a lot of trips that didn't end up happening, and the world stopped. And we could have sat back and gone, okay, I guess we'll just, sit and be sad and quarantine for the next however long, or we can work really hard, even harder than we did before, so that when the world inevitably opens back up, we're ready to go. And here we go. Monday, I'm flying out to go so that we can do some comic signings. So, and we're doing that because we were trying to stay positive and look ahead and trying to make lemons out of,
poop.
Lemonade, lemonade out of lemons, as they say.
Now, Russell put this up here. I actually want to bring this up because books are definitely getting better. The big two are finally seeing that they are going to have to step up because the indies are bringing their A game. I could not agree more on this right here. For the first time ever, the big two are showing fear. And that is something that you've never seen because they've always had the audience. There's never been we're never going to lose them. Everything's going to be fine. We're solidified in this. Now they're finding that their foundation is a little more rocky than they thought it was. And it gives a chance for indies to go ahead and step up, which is amazing because we're not saying that we're trying to take over the position. We just want a little bit of a spotlight. We want to be able to be seen in the indie community. And now I think that's even more so a possibility than ever before, because when everything got to its worst, indies never went pencil down. Everybody kept working and kept pushing and actually created more than I think the indie community has ever created before. I mean, this is amazing what all is being put out there.
I think it's kind of a revolution that's very similar to what happened with home recording equipment in the music side. Back in the 80s and 90s, the only way you could feel like you could have a chance to make anything musically was, I got to get on that record label. I got to get this record deal, and we got to get that budget to go and record. And as home recording gear came around and the ability to be able to sit literally right here, like I am at the desk that I'm at right now, and be able to record an album basically from the computer that's right here. A lot of albums nowadays are done that way, and you didn't need to have that record label gatekeeper to be able to get your album out there. You have the same ability to go and put your stuff on YouTube or to promote it, and there's a lot more availability of great music. We actually were listening to Ailstorm before we got on this thing tonight. We're listening to one of the songs that they just put out. I think I see comics kind of the same way, where you don't have to have a deal with Marvel or DC or Image to be able to put out a quality title. To me, I don't think that you could really look at some good indies. Like you look at anything that Charlie Stickney puts out, and the quality of what Charlie Stickney puts out is just as good as the quality of anything you're going to see on Marvel or DC, as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I was talking to you, Phil, before we got on about how I'm reading way more indie comics than I am from the big two, and that is also because my peers are writing these books, our friends in the industry, but also because they're just better. There are more compelling stories right now that are being created by indie creators, and it's really cool to see that they're getting the recognition that they deserve is getting there. It's getting closer to what we deserve as indie creators.
I completely agree. And Jim O'Reilly's on here saying, "Oh no, I want to take over." Kidding, or am I? Jim is one to watch. I'm gonna tell you right now. If you haven't seen some of his artwork and whatnot, you definitely need to watch what he's bringing to the table. Third Empire is making they're making a footprint out there. They're just getting their names out there. It's a banner with different publishers underneath there and everything, similar to what y'all are doing on your side as well, except they're a lot more new into it. They haven't really even stepped foot out there yet, but the way they're doing everything right now is very interesting, and Jim is a big part of that in drawing and doing a lot of the artistry for them. So again, that's great because the indies, get to get out there and get their footprint out there, because normally that would have been stomped out quicker than anything. There would have been like, okay, that we don't even worry about that. We just want to see Spawn, Spawn 301, 302, which is in the indies, and then I only want to see Venom and Carnage and Batman over here. That's all we want to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now that we're noticing there's a few more spots on the walls in these LCSs that need to be filled up by stuff like this. So if you're in an LCS and you're watching this later on, or you're in here hiding or anything, this stuff needs to be in your stores. I'm telling you right now. It's got a demon seal of approval. I don't know if that means a lot to you and everything, but a demon seal of approval. So that's a definite. So
well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, it's one of those things. I won't put my seal of approval on many things unless they have the core values attached to them. And as a fan, I'm not even looking at this as, as an interviewer or aspiring writer, editor, whatever thing on here type thing. I'm looking at it as a fan, because that's all that really matters, is who keeps the lights on every single day is the fans. So if I, as a fan, want to keep going ahead and doing this, and I, as a fan, would walk into an LCS saying, "Hey, do you want to go ahead and carry this? Because I'd love for you to carry this," and bring them the books and say, "You have to carry these," then that says a lot right there. And sometimes that's all the power that we need as fans, is to be able to do that. LCSs, if you go ahead and you tell them, "I recommend you carry this," or whatever, that's fine, that's good, that's great and wonderful, but everyone's doing that. If you actually walk up and slap a book on the table and say, "That's the one you need right there," I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, I would buy 10 of them. And they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, then yeah, we'll do this. We'll go ahead and do this then."
Yeah.
So that is something that as fans we have the power to do. I've said many times on almost every show that I've done, support means much more than just financial. Support is the power of the finger. Make sure you use the right one, of course. You go ahead and hit that share button, because you hit that share button. If you hit that share button on here, you can actually help out a lot of these people. I mean, the guests that I have on here right now, hit that share button, get their information out there. It may not be exactly what you can get right now, or it may not be your shtick. It may not be exactly what you want to do. Maybe you have something against steampunk for whatever reason, or you don't like rock and roll, in which case, please unfriend me. No, I'm joking. But by sharing, you'll be able to get to those people who actually can go ahead and utilize exactly what they have available on here.
Yeah.
29 and a half years of retail management experience has taught me one thing, that out of 100 people that I talk to, I'll make one sale. So if I can actually expand this out to 1,000 people, you want to do the math on that one? It actually gets up there. So if you can do that, people like my guest right here, like other guests that I've had in the past and everything, they can go ahead and start getting those business goals that they want to get, so they can start putting out even more work, even more music, and make the rest of the fans even more happy with that. So it's just an easy thing that you can do, is just go ahead and support them that way. So that's my rant here towards the end, as far as that's concerned.
I definitely appreciate that, man. And yeah, like I said, the most pressing thing that we're going to have the Kickstarter for Tales from Eternia 3 that's going to be coming up. If you have backed one of our campaigns before, all three of the campaigns we ran before were on my personal Kickstarter account. Definitely go up there and look for the Insymmetry Creations Kickstarter page, because that's where the next campaign is going to launch. We're going to launch it off of the business page. We definitely don't want anybody to miss out on it thinking it's going to come up on my personal one. We want to make sure that they know to go look on the Insim one. So yeah, if you go up there and do that and follow it, you're going to know as soon as that Kickstarter is ready to launch.
And Jim O'Reilly was asking for link. I'm not sure exactly which one you're looking for, Jim. The links are actually attached to both feeds on YouTube and Facebook. I've got them embedded on there on the descriptions. But if you need other information on this, reach out to me and I will get you whatever you need to get ahead and get with them and get some information and get some books from them, because they got some great stuff.
Yeah, we've got online store. We can ship anything out to you, any story that you are interested in. So
absolutely. I could keep y'all here all night long, but I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up a little bit here. I'm going to give it to Steph real quick to go ahead, and if you will tell us again where we can find you, what you're working on and everything, go ahead and sell that number 3 that's coming up, because I'm going to be giving it to Matt next.
So I usually let Matt do we have so many different social medias that I always end up missing up one, but for Heirs it's really easy. It's Heirs of Isildur on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Really easy to find Heirs of Isildur. We are going to be launching our 3rd campaign for Tales from Nocturnia for Kickstarter soon. We don't have a date. We're not going to say just yet, but yeah, keep an eye out. We have email lists that we can that you can sign up for, and we're on social media. We're keeping everybody updated as far as all that goes. But Matt is going to be the one to do the social media, because that's his deal, because I always mess it up. So Matt can do it.
I thought you did the social media fine. Facebook, it's InSim, INSYM. On Twitter, it's InSim Creations. If you want to go to our store, it's tinyurl.com/InSim shop. There's also insymmetrycreations.com, and like Steph said, heirsofIsildur.com. On all social media is Heirs of Isildur. On Facebook, it's Tales from Nocturnia. On Twitter, TF Nocturnia. All those pages are active. And like Steph said, issue 3 of Tales from Nocturnia, we're going to be launching on Kickstarter here imminently. It'll be sometime in the month of June, unless some insane world event happens. And the rate we're going, there will be some other world event crazy that's going to happen. We're really happy with the way that the story is written, really happy with the way that the story comes around. One of the things that people have said that they have liked the most about Tales from Nocturnia is it's not your typical medieval story, because everybody can have stories about a kingdom and A and kingdom B having a battle. Tales from Nocturnia centers around Beninock the Executioner, who was so distraught on the day of the last execution that he did that he basically has given up execution altogether, and he wants to be free of his axe. He wants to be free from that, wants to find a better way of life. Unfortunately for him, there is an imminent invasion. There is a leadership void that has happened in the kingdom of Nocturnia, and he kind of finds himself unintentionally getting a following and finding people that actually want to show support for him, which he's not used to getting as the executioner. And so it's a whole story about, the change of life that this guy is going through in the midst of these medieval battles. So there's definitely a very personal story alongside of the typical medieval battle that you're going to get in the story. So super stoked about that. The Kickstarter is going to launch, like I said, sometime in June. We have some awesome homage covers that are done by Walter Osley. The art's coming along great. We have some other cool things we're going to do in this campaign. We're going to have some new music that you're going to get to hear a clip of during the Kickstarter video, and really looking forward to it.
Very cool. Thank you both very much for being on here and being on the show. I hope you all have had a great time being on here, and we've gotten a lot of information. And Jim O'Reilly did message and say that he got it. Thanks. So he got the link that he needed. So he'll be reaching out to y'all as well and looking into that.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And thanks for having us. This was a lot of fun. We had fun.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to having y'all again. In
Please.
fact, keep me posted and let me know what's going on with the Kickstarter, and we'll see if I can get you on while that's going on and try to get you some more people to know about that too.
That'd be amazing. We would love that.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead. I'm going to put y'all backstage. I'll do my closing statements, and thank you again.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Hey, we had an excellent show. We had Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon up here. there was a lot of information that was going along. Their books are amazing. I cannot stress that enough. I need to get into the air stuff myself, but the Tales from Nocturne, I'm definitely hooked on that. The writing style is one thing, but just the flow of it, the way that it works and everything is great. So I'm just telling you right now, it gets the Demon Seal approval. I wasn't lying about that. Now I always have a closing statement. Tonight's not going to be any different. I never script it. I never write anything down. I just kind of go with what's been going on in the interview and kind of base it off of that. Tonight's very simple. Again, it's going to be one word: appreciation. A lot of people go ahead and they kind of forget about that one little word and how much impact it has on everything that you do. I'm not talking about just the industry. The industry is one thing. If you give appreciation, back to your fans and everything, yeah, they'll spend some more money. They'll do some, other things with you and show the loyalty. That's fine. What I'm trying to expound out there on is, why not use it in life? What have you appreciated lately? Who have you appreciated lately? How much appreciation have you shown lately? Sometimes there are things that you can ask these questions and just see if you can do just a little bit better. And like I've been saying, get those pebbles thrown out there, get those ripples going. Let's get that positive energy going out there and negate that negativity. You never know. One pebble more may actually make a world of difference. That's the way we got to think about these things. So appreciation, because I definitely appreciate each and every one of my fans, more so than y'all know. So until next time, Demon Phil, Comics More New Jersey. Keep it indie, y'all.